Ewan and I were doing a long way around. We'd be out in the desert and really difficult thing. We'd be riding and we'd come up and say, "Oh, I'm having a Dakar moment," and all this kind of stuff. And I've grown up watching the Dakar Rally, which is probably the most difficult and the most dangerous off-road race in the world.
Yeah, it's similar to Baja 1000, but
Yeah,
this one is longer. It's in Africa, right? It's about the most extreme races
yeah,
in the
yeah.
world that you can
I
do
mean,
event. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, imagine the Baja, which is 24 hours, and then imagine that 16 days in a row, and then you kind of got the Dakar Rally.
Yeah.
So it's a nutrition as well. There was 260 motorcycles started when I rode it in Africa, and only 60 motorcycles finished. And
Wow.
sadly, I wasn't one of them. I broke
Yes.
my hands at one stage, and heroically finished the day with two broken hands. But
Yes, I
in
did see you
hindsight, I
with the two
probably
casts
should have.
like this because you had a couple other team members
Yeah.
that kept going, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and so we made a sort of doctor because the great thing about it is that it's still a race that you don't have to be a professional to
To enter.
to enter. You just have to be an idiot or stupid or
Yes,
or
adventurous.
adventurous. Yeah, adventurous. That's a much better word. And they, like if you travel a lot and people say I'm going to Africa or something like that, they go, that's a
I
dangerous
wouldn't go over
place.
there.
And you
Yeah.
go, really? And they go, oh yeah, it's very dangerous. Have you been there? No. Right. Or
Yes.
everybody has some story about it, right? And they're usually just bullshit, the stories, right? Are not true. Anyway, so when people start talking to you about the Dakar Rally, they tend to make the stories a bit less than they actually are. So it's the only thing I've ever come across where actually every
People
story that they tell
downplay it.
you is that people actually downplay it. Otherwise, no
What?
one would do it.
Yes. Yeah, no, it sounds. I've had a little bit of experience going down to Baja and seeing that race, and it was like, holy crap, this is crazy. I could only imagine what the Dakar race is
But it's
like
the
because,
speed that people go. You're going long, and if you were just normally doing it, you would sort of slowly go through whatever you had to do and stuff like that. But in order to do the decade, you just got to
you
pin
have to
it
go.
wide open
Yes.
and just anyway.
And off road. This is not paved roads. This is
No,
the
yeah,
worst roads that you experience in
or no roads.
Russia or whatever. Yeah.
Often it's just, and then you have to you have to navigate, and so it just says at a kilometer 226, take compass bearing 115,
Wow. Wow,
and
you're
that's it.
navigating.
You know,
Yeah,
oh, so
yeah,
what's
because there's the
and as a
roads.
dyslexic, it's just a nightmare as a dyslexic because I can't tell my right from my left. So I had to actually put on my hands. I had to write right and left with a pen on my hands, so that when it says go right, I'd look at my hands to see which one was to go right.
Wow, that's crazy.
Anyway,
So
but it
then
all made
you,
me a stronger man for this last adventure.
yeah. Well, so that means throughout this time you're running, you're doing adventures, right? You shouldn't, because you, like I said, you have multiple series on
Yeah,
travel adventure, right? Either on a thing. I
yeah.
saw one where you're going to extreme places. You did a thing where you went to Hawaii, one of my favorite places in the world, to see some volcanoes. Which, by the way, that was pretty crazy. I got to see them from afar, from a helicopter. You were right there standing. You were fishing the
Oh,
floating
fishing for
lava.
floating.
That was
No,
pretty
we were so
crazy.
excited about getting this piece of lava. We picked it out of the water. It was like, got this lava. And then it
Yeah,
was only when we saw the rushes afterwards that the middle was still
you could see that it's still
red. And
molten with
it
lava.
could have
Yeah,
been a disaster. But
I
it was
you
good fun.
know
That was by any means. And so we went from sort of, yeah, that was kind of cool. It was good fun. It's good fun just knocking around. It's kind of good fun. And I suppose that's why you do it is to, is for the travel of it all. And it's not so much, you know, it's about the places that you go to, but it's and the A to B of it all. But it's what happens in between and the people that you meet along the way and the
yeah,
adventures and it's all the things that go wrong
that make the
that you
trip.
remember. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't remember the day when you had that lovely pina colada on the beach, but you do remember on the way home when your rented car broke down and then you had a whole thing to get home, and those are the bits you remember.
Yeah, when that group of guys in oh man, what country was that? That was some country where they didn't even speak the language. You guys didn't understand what they were doing, and they all of a sudden fix your motorbike, right? It's like,
That's
oh, that's what they were
yeah.
doing. Okay, hopefully,
But
that's a
yeah, I
pretty
mean
exciting thing.
but that's the thing, and I think when that was in Mongolia, and I think
Mongolia.
when you're in the middle of nowhere and stuff like that, you and something goes wrong, you rely on the fact that the next person comes along is going to stop and help you, and one of the things you learn about when you travel is that if you do break down and stuff like that, you can really be safe in the knowledge that someone will eventually come along and help you, and in Mongolia, for instance, if you take your driving test in Mongolia, you have to pass a mechanical test as
Oh,
well before you can take your
wow,
driving test, because the place is so big and there's no infrastructure. So if you break down, you have to be able to fix it yourself. So that's
wow.
part of taking a
And the roads are
lesson.
so bad that you're most
Oh,
likely
terrible.
your car's gonna break down.
Sure, for sure.
Yes.
Not a signpost in the whole country.
Yeah, that is a crazy adventure. And while you're doing this, you suffer a few accidents, and you're right. You've suffered a few. You were hospitals at one point, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Not too
no,
long ago.
yeah, recently, well, I've done motocross all my life, so you're used to falling off and breaking the odd fingers and
Bones.
ribs and bits and pieces, collarbones and stuff like that. Nothing too bad. And at the same, if you're riding a horse or something like that, often they'll say that they've broken things and stuff. But recently, 2016, I was doing a launch of a Triumph motorcycle, and I got clipped by a car and hit a wall and
Whoa.
destroyed my legs, and that took a couple of years to learn to walk again.
Oh wow,
And
so it's
then
pretty serious. Yeah.
yeah, that was a big one, a big external cage around my legs, and they were shattered, and almost lost my left one, and all this kind of stuff. And I think it was just hanging on by the calf muscle. I remember, if you fall off a motorbike, one of the things you do is get up quickly and pick up the bike and jump back on the bike and pretend that you haven't crashed. So
Nothing happened.
when the next person goes by, you sort of go, "Oh, hi guys, nothing to see here." And and this one, I remember jumping up and thinking, "Well, I've got to," because I had the world's press were there. It was a
Oh
launch of
wow.
of a new motorbike, so there were a bunch of people from the States, from Canada, from Brazil, and I remember getting up and going to walk to my bike, and I was thinking, God, my left leg feels weird, and I looked down, and there was this below my knee. There was this thing just flopping about.
Oh no.
It wasn't
Yeah.
attached at all, just by a bit of muscle. So I remember sort of
Wow.
sitting back down, thinking, "Oh, that's not so good." But so that was quite bad. That took about 2 years to get back to walking again because I broke both legs. Um, and then just as I got well and I was finally riding motorbike again, I was in South Africa. I take a bunch of people through South Africa every year on motorcycles from Cape Town to Victoria Falls, and we go through South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, stay in these beautiful places, safaris, all that kind of stuff. I have to stop on the side of I have to stop on the road because 60 elephants are crossing the road. And you're sitting there waiting for these elephants to
Wow.
cross by. Uh, Anyway, so I had this huge crash there. I had no idea what happened. Woke up 18 hours later in hospital, and I broke my collarbone, snapped my forearm in half, broke my pelvis, head injury. Anyway,
Wow.
so what happened? So I'm sitting there. I finally get home after that, and I'm back in a wheelchair again. Having spent a year and a half in a bed before that. And pooping in a potty and all that kind of stuff, horrible stuff, as you have to do. Never a greater moment of my life than when I finally sat on a normal toilet again. I can't tell you. It was as if I'd ridden a motorbike for the first time again. It was just the most wonderful feeling. But um,
Is that one
so
of
I'm
the
back
most
on a
underrated pleasures in life?
yeah, yeah,
That-
yeah. I tell you, just next time you go to the bathroom, just remember some of us
Enj-
couldn't do
Enjoy
that
it.
for a long time. Yeah, exactly. Enjoy it. Yeah. Take your time.